It's NAR, the National Association of Realtors. That's where all realtors sign up, to be able to be called a realtor.
Are you part of the realtor group?
I got somebody sent me a hate comment whenever
Could you say realtor?
Yeah. They're like, you don't even say it right. And I'm like, that's why I always try to say real estate agent. But so pretty much right now, anybody that lists their house, most likely they are paying 6%, and then 3% goes to the listing agent, 3% goes to the buying side. And a couple people in Missouri filed a lawsuit because
the show me state.
The what?
The show me state.
I didn't. Is this a politician thing?
No. This is, how every state has like their lingo.
What's our lingo?
I think Oklahoma's is. I don't know what Oklahoma's is actually.
I didn't.
The Sooner State.
Oh,
the Sooner State.
Show me state.
Yeah, Missouri is the show me state.
Welcome to the WillPower podcast, where we uncover the secrets of success and share the wisdom of exceptional individuals. I'm your host, William Gomez, and as a real estate professional, I bring you insights from the world of real estate and beyond. Join me as I engage in captivating conversations with incredible guests from diverse backgrounds and industries, from top real estate moguls to trailblazing entrepreneurs and influencers. We dive into the mindsets and habits of successful people. If you love what you hear, don't forget to rate and review. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and enlightened. Live life today on WillPower. Daniel Flores, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
Welcome back.
I'm glad to be back, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, for people that haven't heard Daniel's name before, clearly they haven't heard your first episode, or they might have, because it performed really well. A lot better than I would have ever thought.
Still top 5.
So number 48, if you guys want to go back and hear Daniel's story of how he got into the mortgage industry. For those of you guys that haven't heard Daniel's name, he's a top producing loan officer who's been doing it for about 5 years or so.
5
Is that
years,
correct?
5 years in November.
Yeah. And wanted to bring him back on to kind of share a little bit more of his story, share a little bit of where he's at with today's market. And then also you're a podcast host of a new show.
Yeah, I started that a couple months ago.
What is the name of it?
It's called Loans, Life, and Laughter.
There we go. So what's the schedule? It comes out when?
Every 2 weeks.
2 weeks. All right. Now the pressure's on you. People are going to be like refreshing the page.
No, they're expecting for the next episode to come out. They're eager to listen.
Dude, so I want to start off with this. We lost 100,000 loan officers in 2023. That's how bad the market got.
Yeah.
Yeah. And out of the people that even did one loan, the top 50% of people did 18 loans or more. And if you did 18 loans or less, or let's say 17 loans or less, you were in the bottom half of all loan officers in the nation. And that was for the entire year.
That was the entire year. All of 2023.
You, for the first quarter of this year, did 21 loans.
21 so far.
You made the top 50% in one quarter.
In one quarter, man.
And then not only that, but what's even more impressive is that your production overall is 46% up from last year?
From last year.
That's insane.
Yeah, I would say I'm just blessed. I'm just doing everything that I'm supposed to, just following rules by the book. And just doing everything that I can to
let's not go that far. Let's not following the rules by the book. Come on, Daniel. People that are listening that know you,
they know I'm doing the work. They knew that I'm doing what I'm supposed to, and the work that I'm putting in it's coming into fruition.
So tell me, just 1 year ago, what's something that different? And actually, it's been about a year since we transitioned to a new company.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are some key things that you have changed since last year that would attribute to your success this past quarter in 2024?
I think that before we were used to having, I feel like it was a whole different market. One, we were kind of like taking orders from, agents and referral partners. So before, since we had a lot, we would just, maybe just focus on just, the more important ones, or the ones that were like ready to buy at the moment. Right now, we're not taking that for granted. Any lead that we get, we're treating it as if it was, the last lead we are to get. So we're focusing more and more attention, and we're following up even more with it than we were before. So the leads, even though they have dropped from last year, we're taking care of them a lot more than we were before.
Yeah, I mean, because clearly, I mean, for the first 3 months of 2023, you had only closed what, 10 deals or so?
Yeah,
10, 11,
around there.
deals.
Yeah.
So, and what's crazy is that one of the biggest things that one of your biggest fears was the fear of rejection, the fear that you weren't going to make it.
Yeah.
So, do you still have that fear, even though with how well you're doing right now?
You know, what's funny is in the back of my mind, I always have that.
Yeah.
Even though that, you know, I know what I'm capable of, and I know what, you know, myself and I know what I'm able to bring to the table. There's like, I still have that doubt lingering around in my mind. And it's just like that self-doubt.
And one of the things about the business that we do is I'm personally so passionate about it because it's a way to be able to help people get in a path for generational wealth, right? Yeah. I mean, since 2019, home appreciation's up 46, 47%. That's insane.
Yeah. Like, well, I mean, just look at our homes. When we purchased our homes, we bought them for a certain price.
We were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah. And then just look at the price, what they're worth now.
The amount of people that have moved into my neighborhood, lived there a year, and then sold and cashed out 100,000 plus has been like multiple people in my neighborhood. It's insane. So we're big believers in what we do. And one of the most special times for me out of the 800 loans that I've done since I've been doing this is helping my sister. That was really, really special to me because I truly believe that I was helping her. And you just got to experience that a little bit. You got to help your dad last month. Yeah.
My dad actually just bought it'll be his third investment property. And so he was wanting to buy it cash. And I told him, I was like, why would you want to use all that cash whenever you can just, you know, use a quarter of it for this investment property? Cause it was a tiny little property. It was like 90,000. So why use all, you know, most of your money and buy the property and then just retain a lot of it and then just his cash to close was literally like $24,000 what he had to bring to closing for an $8,000 property. And I was like, now you have all this capital to, you know, make it bigger or improvements or whatever. And then the rest of the money that you have, we can use it to, you know, purchase more or whatever. So I was able to be that financial advisor in a way for help him, you know, look at the scope of things. Because even I told him, even though you're gonna be paying interest, you know, a little bit of interest on this house, like you're going to pay it off before the full 30 years. So you're really not going to pay that much interest on it. So I, you know, being a firm believer in what I did, I'm glad that he was able to look at the picture as I painted it.
And worst case scenario, you're like, that's option A. Option B is you pay it off in 6 months and then you're good.
After 6 months, 6 full payments. And then if you want to pay it off in 7 months, then you can do it.
For anybody listening, that inside joke is if you're a loan officer and you do a loan and that loan either defaults, so people just don't make their payment, which I've actually had that happen to me one time.
Oh my God, dude. I had one.
Like people just get into a home and they're like, just don't make one payment.
Yeah.
And then, or if somebody pays it off early, we have to pay our commission back.
Yeah.
So we're always like, yeah, you're more than welcome to pay it off. Just 7 months.
I just went through that. I had a default actually. And so I had to pay back $5,200 in commission.
Dang.
And, what hurts is that we worked so hard for that loan. We got paid for it and now we had to pay it back. So it did hurt.
That's where you got to make your first payment calls. I'm like, have you made your payment? All right. Now how's everything going with the house? So something I want to mention that a lot of people don't know is that whether you pay for it cash, right? Mm-hmm. People forget you can't grab money from the walls. Yeah. If something happens, like if God forbid something happened in your family and your dad's like, well, shoot, like now I can't just go unless I go and sell that house, but I can't just go and grab a piece of sheetrock and then have $25,000 for this emergency that just came up. Yeah. Right. The second thing that people don't realize is I'm a big believer in real estate, and it can be the best investment if you buy the right property, you buy the right location, all that stuff. People don't realize that your ROI, your return on investment, mm-hmm. is actually lower the more that you put down as well. So yesterday I was helping a guy, mm-hmm. he's wanting to put $80,000 down, and based on what the property he's looking at and what it's appreciating for, it looks like that the house would be up like $33,000 in the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if we take a look at the percentage of him putting $80,000 down based on him receiving that back, it's a lot less than if he puts the minimum down on that. Mm-hmm. Because you got to realize, like, if you go in at a minimum down payment, your house is going to appreciate the same exact way. It's not going to appreciate anymore just because you put a bigger down payment.
Yeah.
And so the return is much smaller if you're putting a bigger chunk down mm-hmm. than if you're putting a small down or you don't put anything down, and you're able to just get that same appreciation. People don't realize that. And there's no other investment. So let's just talk about like $100,000 house. And let's say that it's appreciating 5% year over year. And that house in 3 years, it's going to be worth $115,000.
Yeah.
And if your initial investment was $5,000, you just made $15,000 on $5,000.
On top of the 5,000, yeah.
But what if you make $30,000? If you put $30,000 in, you're putting in the same $30,000, but you're still getting the $15,000 back, which is like, it's not the same. And people don't realize that. I understand that sometimes you have to put a bigger amount so that way you feel comfortable in your monthly payment mm-hmm. and stuff. But a lot of the times people just think like, yeah, the guy from yesterday, he's like, well, this is what I'm making from the sale of my house, so I just need to put it to my next house. And I'm like,
why?
Yeah, but that's when an advisor comes
Why does that
in.
make sense to do?
That's when an advisor comes in, and not just somebody that's just, pushing
numbers
paper
in and just tells, yeah.
So you started a podcast, man. Tell me a little bit about why, like what got you into wanting to do that?
Well, one is I saw you do it and how much you enjoy doing it. And whenever before you started yours, we were just goofing around and just having fun with it. And I kind of finally just decided, you know what, let's just go for it. Let's just do it. But I enjoy it. It's something fun that I get enjoyment out of. So, when is the best time to do something? Today. So why not just do it?
Man, you got to implement fast.
And
Loan, life, and laughter. So
Loans, life, and laughter.
I think there's a lot more laughter in your podcast than in mine.
Or unless I'm a guest on yours, and then it's just full of laughter.
I don't know. I think there's still a lot more laughs in yours.
Well, here's the thing. If I feel like anybody that knows me knows that I don't take life too serious, and I love laughing and I love just joy. So I think that's why I wanted to incorporate that into it, just because I do, enjoy laughing, and I just look at, the joys in life.
So what can people expect as far as guests? Are you going to do any shows on your own? What can people expect? For me, WillPower, it's hey, let's talk about your story, how you got to where you're at today. Because a lot of times people see people that are in any type of success in life, and they just think that all kind of came easy for them, and they don't realize pretty much the journey that took them to get to where they're at today. So what about yours? What can people expect as far as the type of content that you're wanting to put out there?
So I think that's why I kind of wanted to name it Loans, Life, and Laughter, because I didn't want to just focus on one thing. Loans is because, I'm in the mortgage business and I do loans. Life, because I want it to just be, across the board, different perspectives on different people's, path of lives. And then laughter, because I just want to see, people's different perspectives, whether it's, whatever the topic might be. So for mine, I would say it's mostly just about, it could be their career, it could be their life, it could be struggles, it could be whatever they want it to be. It just fits in that bubble. To solidify the laughter part, you should try to bring a comedian on. You know what? Maybe I should.
Come on. So if you could interview anybody that you wanted, who would you want to bring in here?
Living or dead?
Living.
Living. Okay. If I could interview anyone, I would probably interview a politician.
You love politics, man.
I would bring in a politician and kind of just see how, the early struggles that they went through, because nobody gets to where they're at, from one day to the next. So I know that, we all have struggles, and then we all have, things that we need to, get over. So I would want to interview. I don't want to say one particular name, but just a politician that I would just have a lot of questions for.
So you're not saying a name because you're not wanting to pick a party, or you're just not wanting to?
We just always, we live in a very woke America.
Yeah.
So
your podcast will get canceled before it even starts.
So we have to be neutral. And so that's why I'm keeping it vague and then just saying a politician without selecting or choosing a particular party.
Is that why you wore your Trump shirt underneath that one? I'm just kidding, guys. He's not wearing a Trump shirt.
I'm just wearing my little I voted sticker because I am very.
That actually did happen in so I have a realtor I work with, and she's very like left side, and she was helping a girl that she went to high school with, and she was friends with her. Well, she was very right side, and to the closing table, she wore a Make America Great Again Trump shirt. And
she wore that because she knew that she was.
Yeah, so just to make the agent mad.
Yeah.
And then it was just the most awkward closing. One of the most awkward closings that I've ever been.
And the thing is, like, it doesn't have to be awkward, but I think a lot of just make it awkward because even though like you could be, left field or right field, we can both agree to disagree. We don't have to look at everything eye to eye.
Yeah, but there's crazy people on both sides.
Yeah. But we can still,
I mean, come on. The right people that went to the Capitol. Come on.
Did you see actually what was released today? That Trump said he was going to pardon all those people who rioted. I mean,
why is he saying stuff like that? It sounds like he's already got in the bag. Why is he saying stuff like that?
To build up his base because that's what they want to hear. Or actually, you know what? I don't know. Yeah, that's because that's what the base wants to hear.
The base? What do you mean? Like
his base?
Oh, his base.
His
base. People.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so we're going to do it again. So I think he's sending a message to his new vice president.
But I did, which we don't know who it's going to be.
Dude, so you still got a chance. You might be leaving loans.
At least as long as it's not Tim Scott, because I do not like that.
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
That's crazy that you like politics so much. That's like your March Madness, isn't it?
I mean, every election year, and even if it's like local, city, or state, national, like I get sucked into it. I follow all of it. I watch both sides. I watch debates. I keep up with the polls. I look at, everything. And I feel like that's how we should all be, is we should all look at all sides of, what they have to bring. And you shouldn't just vote along party lines, because I'm completely non-bipartisan. I could vote blue in this next election, which I probably won't, but then I will, vote red in the state election, or it just depends on the candidate and what they stand for.
You ever vote pink?
I voted purple.
What is purple? Or
no,
what?
Purple's independent.
Oh, it is? I was about to ask you, do they have a color?
No, yeah. So it's red is Republican, blue is Democrat, and then purple is usually independent.
Every single time that there was a debate the next morning, did you watch the debate? And I would be like, I didn't even know.
I watched every single one of them.
I was like, I didn't know we had a debate last night.
Which they should be coming up here pretty soon, because we already know who's going to be the nominee.
So does Trump actually have to show up for this one?
He's actually the one that's actually wanting Biden to debate him. So before, he didn't want to show up to any of the Republican debates because I think it would probably end up hurting him. So if he didn't show up, then it wasn't going to affect him at all. But now, since he's the presumptive GOP nominee, he has to debate, Biden, and he's the one that's actually, calling Biden out and wants to debate him.
So you started off in the aviation business or realm.
Yeah.
And you're in mortgages now. Is there any part of you that you think you'll ever be involved in some type of politics?
Deep down, I think I would love to. Would I do it? I think it still goes back down to that same self-doubt, that what if I fail, or what if people don't follow me, or what if I don't build enough rapport with the voters to have them believe in my vision. So eventually, I think maybe I would want to, just not anytime soon.
But don't you think that in any new thing, like one of the things that you had mentioned, you and I are part of, we get coached for our businesses, and we're part of the same coaching call. And you said that you want to do more social media, but you're kind of scared.
Yeah.
So, I mean, isn't that in everything though?
That's in everything.
And then you just got to do it.
You just have to do it. And I think it's so much easier said than done, because I've said it. I've done it before. where I say, I'm going to do it. And then I get to the precipice and I'm like, I get scared and I just back, I just back up instead of just jumping and going for it.
So how long had you been thinking about becoming a loan officer before you actually took the jump? I know we briefly talked about it back in episode 48, but I guess the way that you're talking to me now, it sounds like it's really hard for you to make for me, sure. Like I'm scared all the time, bro. Like even a cold plunge in the morning, like I don't want to get in. And I'm like, I literally this morning, I'm sitting there staring at it and I'm like, what if I just go back in? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to do this. And then but I'm like, just get in, that's kind of what you have to do with everything. So how long did it take you to make that jump?
It actually took a while.
Like how long?
I would say a couple months, like 6 months at least. Like I had been looking into it for a while, but I was always, that's that same self-doubt. Not that I don't want to, make myself look like a little bitch, but, but it did took a while for me to actually believe in myself after, speaking to a couple different people, a couple different agents, letting me know that they were going to follow me and that they would, support me and send me business. So once I had enough of that, I felt like I was in a good position to finally make the move. But at first I just wasn't ready. And I didn't feel like I believed in myself.
But 6 months is a pretty a fairly short time.
You think so?
I would think so. I mean, there's so many people that never make the jump. So I'm trying to get a sense of what's a long time, because how long have you been wanting to do social media for?
I guess a good year.
So that's kind of where I was getting at. And then you've been wanting to be a politician since you could talk, it sounds like.
That I don't know how long that's going to take, but.
how long have you been into politics?
I've always been into politics.
Since you were a little kid?
Since I was little, always been I've always been up to date with like the newscasting, politics. I love it all. So I think that, for a split second, I should say split second, but for a while, I really did want to go and get a degree in political science, but I just had different plans.
So how do you even get in? Like, do you start like as an HOA president and like, what do you?
Well, I think that our previous president shows that you need zero experience. So as long as you have a following and you have voters
and it starts in social media, bro,
and you can convince them, that's all you need. And funding. Obviously funding is a big part of it because you can't run a campaign without sponsors and funding. And so once you have enough people believe in you and support you and back you up, I think that's whenever you have good momentum to really launch a campaign.
So what can we expect from Daniel in this next year in 2024? Like, what are some goals that we have? I know that you have some goals production wise and that loan officer side of things, but just overall, like, is there any kind of, like, if you're sitting here next year, first quarter or starting second quarter of 2025, like looking back at 2024, what do you want to accomplish this year?
This year I want to close at least $16 million in production. I want to make President's Club.
Will that be your biggest year?
It will. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of one of those things that's kind of hard to say because out of the year that we just came out of 2023 to coming 2024 and say that I want to have my biggest year ever in 2024 is kind of like a stretch to say, just because we didn't expect for 2023 to be as bad as it was. So I think it's a long stretch to say that 2024, I want it to be my biggest year ever, but I think I'm able to be able to do it.
I don't think it's as much of a stretch based on everything that we've already gotten out of. And then the other thing is, with losing over 100,000 loan officers last year, you got to realize that that's going to be more pie for the rest of the people that stayed in.
Yeah.
And with the new NAR changes that we don't know what's going to happen, but it, from all the fear that's out there, if it does change some things, I truly believe that that's going to take out some agents out, which is again going to be more for
the agents that we work with.
Exactly. Exactly. So I don't think it's a big stretch. What are your thoughts on that new law that's being passed? Or I don't know if it's a law. It's just like the lawsuit.
Whatever the commotion is going around. See, I've looked into it and I just don't know how I feel about it. I do know like there's so many unanswered questions that we don't know. So is it going to make it more difficult for buyers to purchase a property? Now, do we have to source more deposits to show that they have enough to be able to cover the commission for a realtor? Like there's so many things that that are unknown that I don't know how it's going to affect us in the future. Just because we do know that when you purchase a house, you have a down payment, you have closing costs. And now if you have to cover your real estate commission, that's an extra 3% that we weren't, dealing with before. And now we have to source that, and it can't just come out in cash. So I just think there's a lot of moving factors that I think we might just need to have like the dust settle before we really know how it's going to like impact our business.
Yeah. And for people that are listening that don't know what's going on, it's NAR, the National Association of Realtors. That's where all realtors sign up, to be able to be called a realtor.
Are you part of the realtor group?
I got somebody sent me a hate comment whenever
because you said realtor.
Yeah. They're like, you don't even say it right. And I'm like, that's why I always try to say real estate agent. But so pretty much right now, anybody that lists their house, most likely they are paying 6%, and then 3% goes to the listing agent, 3% goes to the buying side. And a couple people in Missouri filed a lawsuit because
the show me state.
The what?
The show me state.
I didn't. Is this a politician thing?
No. This is, how every state has like their lingo.
What's our lingo?
I think Oklahoma's is, I don't know what Oklahoma's is actually.
I didn't.
The Sooner State.
Oh,
the Sooner State.
Show me state.
Yeah, Missouri is the show me state. But I mean to get you off. Of course.
Why is it called that?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, show me state. They filed a lawsuit against NAR because they're like, one, this didn't seem negotiable, even though I guess it's always been negotiable, which I will give agents that, but it's kind of like a thing that kind of stuck, that it's like, hey, Daniel, I'm selling your house and it's going to be 6%. Right. And one of these people actually was told that it was going to be 5%. And they still charged them 6%. And so
that's why you sued.
Yeah, that was part of it. And then the other people were like, they didn't give me an option, but to pay 6%. So it's like, you can't say that it's negotiable if you just say like, hey, this is going to cost you this. And then that's that.
Yeah. If
the other person doesn't know, like for example, you're not going to go to Walmart and buy a box of cereal and go up to the cash register and say, hey, I'll give you $4 instead of $5 for this, because it's like, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But if you go to a garage sale and that a pair of shoes is for $30, you're like, hey, it's kind of like known, like, hey, I'll give you $20 for that. And then you
bartering system.
Yeah. So sellers, they don't know what they don't know. Yeah. So if a real estate agent comes up to you and says, hey, Daniel, it's going to be 6% to sell your house. You're just like, am I at a garage sale or am I at Walmart?
Yeah.
And then you're going to assume like I'm at Walmart because I don't know any better.
That's just been the way that it's been for a while.
So the biggest thing is they agreed to pay like over $400 million. And two of the biggest changes that are coming in July is that no longer are they allowed to put on MLS, which is the system,
multi-licensing system,
something like that. Yeah, this is the place where all the listings go, where it's like a Zillow but for just agents.
Yeah,
and there they could see like how much is this house paying. Is it paying 3%? Is it paying 2%? Like if I'm bringing the buyer, well, they can't put that there anymore. And anytime that you're working with a buyer, which they've had a buyer's agreement, but what would you say 1 out of 50 agents maybe fills one out?
That.
And then they always get mad if the buyer leaves and they're like, hey, I'm working with another agent. It's like, well, if you had that buyer's agreement, but the difference on that is that buyer's agreement, this is all speculation because we haven't seen what it's going to be, that it's going to say, hey, Daniel, you have to fill this out before I show you any houses. And there you're going to put that you're going to pay me now if the seller's not willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's not going to be on the MLS, then it's going to be a little hard to be like the seller
to
be
really
like,
know who's actually going to be willing to pay.
Exactly. And as a seller, you're going to be like, well, what's my advantage of paying for it? Now, if like the whole point of paying that was to get other agents to be like, hey, I want to get paid this much. So let me bring you the buyer. So I think I'm in the middle. I think that a lot of agents are like, nothing's changing. This has always been negotiable. We've always had buyer agreements, blah, blah, blah. And then there's other people that are like super scared. They're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to be able to feed my family. So faith or fear, right? You're believing something that you have no idea that's going to happen. But I'm kind of staying in the middle. Like I think that changes are going to happen, but I think that the people that are supposed to be in this business are going to be in this business. So with that being said, what are some things that you're telling your agents as far as like, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people are freaking out about it.
Yeah, I felt a lot that are really worried. And what I've just been telling them is like, there's just so much uncertainty that we just really don't know. So until we know exactly what's going to happen, not to worry, let's just keep conducting business the way that we have. Let's just keep doing everything until June 1st comes. And then once we know more information at that point, then we can just try to figure out, a solution and how we can both, help each other. But just trying to, minimize the fear that a lot of agents have right now.
And so you said that you want to be sitting here next year and saying like, I closed 16 million. I made President's Club. What else is in store for Daniel in 2024?
Keep continuing with social media and staying,
keep continuing or start.
Well, I would say start, not continue, because I do post every so often, but not as much as the consistency isn't there. So maybe I should rephrase that to being consistent with sharing on social media and having more of a presence and a social footprint. Other than that, I would say those are my biggest goals for 2024.
So no political things in the rising.
No political things in the near future, unless I don't know. We'll leave the cliffhanger.
no wife in the making.
Well, no, yeah, I mean that's always in the back of my mind, is getting married and finding a wife and settling down, but that's not business related.
You told me that you were going to be married with a kid by 30.
That can still happen. I'm only 29.
I really hope it doesn't, because
I really hope it does.
Dang, find a wife and have a kid.
Okay, maybe not have a kid, but find a wife for sure.
Dang. Okay. The last thing that I want to ask you is, one of the things that you talked to me about is that you would love to move to Mexico.
Yeah.
Was that in secret, or can I talk about that?
No, that's no, yeah.
So talk to me a little about that. Like for me, like I was born in Mexico and I would not want to live there.
Okay. So
I'm kind of scared, a little low key scared.
Okay.
But any other country, like maybe Canada, maybe, but like, I don't know. Like, and I love to travel, but I just, talk to me through that.
When I say Mexico, so whenever we think of Mexico, what do we think of? We automatically think of poor, we think of danger, we think of kidnappers, the cartel, we think of the worst. Well, when I think of Mexico, I think of Mexico City, I think of city life, I think of New York, but in Mexico, I think of sky rises and, a nice area where there's a lot of Americans who have left the US, gone and moved to Mexico City, and they're able to work remote. So think of a gentrified Mexico City in a way where, the cost of living has skyrocketed in Mexico City because we have so many Americans leaving the US going over there. So the residents there, they don't want any more Americans, because since they're making money in American dollars, US dollars, they're converting it to Mexican pesos. So your money stretches a lot further than it does here. So you can get a lot more there for a lot less. So let's say, we're used to a specific kind of lifestyle here. And if we were to take what we earn here in the US, convert it to Mexican pesos, that would stretch so much more, give us what we have and more. So I think I'm just wanting to I love big cities. So I see myself living in a big, skyrise condo with windows all around and still be affordable doing what I do, not having to have to necessarily be a millionaire to live in a big city in a condo with glass ceilings and everything. Like it's something very achievable with the kind of profession and income that we earn.
So cost of living, that's why?
Cost of living and just the culture. I was born and raised here in the US. So I don't know what it's like living anywhere else. And I think that's also part of it is like the mystery of wanting to live in the country, like my homeland. I say homeland because that's where my mom's from. Both my parents, but wanting to, experience it and live in a different country that I've only gone and visited. My parents live like in a small rural town, or they don't live, but they're from a small rural town. So I would not want to live there, but I would want to live in Mexico City, which Mexico City is like one of the top 10 biggest cities in the world. So it's fairly advanced. It has a lot of culture, the music, the food. Like it's one of those cities that you can really, dive in and then just embrace. And that's something that I would want to do.
There we go. Well, we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
We'll see what the future holds.
So, man, thanks so much for coming on again. I'm excited to see kind of what 2024 brings for you. Where can people find you?
Facebook, Instagram, 918DanDan, or Spotify, Loans, Life, and Laughter with Daniel Flores.
918DanDan. Dude, that's a catchy username. That just screams a couple buttons unbuttoned.
I mean, I'm only
918DanDan. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.